Hey y'all, it's Mamaw, and I'm off my porch. I'm getting ready to have coffee here at the Daily Growler and meeting with John Kulewicz, candidate for Ohio Attorney General. See you in a minute. Let's talk. Hey y'all, it's Mamaw, and I'm having coffee this morning with John Kulewicz. Did I missay your name?
You said it exactly right.
Because I'm
Thank
telling you, I have an accent, I know it, and I can butcher the vocabulary with the best of them.
You nailed it. You got it. Thank you.
And you're running for Ohio Attorney General.
I am, yes.
We need you.
Well, I love what I've been able to do as a lawyer for people for 45 years, and I'd love to be able to work on behalf of the state of Ohio.
We'll tell everyone about your background, and I know people hate to brag on themselves, but it's quite impressive.
Well, I'm not sure it's that impressive. I grew up in Columbus. I went to St. Francis de Sales High School here. My parents bought their home just south of Morse Road in 1959. And Morse Road at the time was a two-lane road through the country. There was a little airport and a little grocery store, but that was about it. And over time, of course, that's developed. It's right now in the heart of
the heart of it all.
Busy part of it all. I went to DeSales High School, and I managed to win a scholarship to Ohio State University. I was there for 4 years, studied American history, loved every moment of it. And I went to law school at Yale Law School in Connecticut, and I liked law school too. I had a very good time there, very beneficial time. And after I graduated, I worked for a federal judge for a year on the United States Court of Appeals. Then I went to Africa for 4 or 5 months on a low-budget trip. And then I came back and started working in Columbus at Voorhees, Sater, Seymour & Pease. It's a large law firm here. In January of 1981, and I was there until December of 2024. My law practice was mostly civil litigation involving a wide array of Ohio businesses, Ohio individuals, and some of the toughest clients in the nation and the state, and some of the toughest opposing counsel. But I learned how to not only get by, but to succeed and thrive in a situation like that.
And I notice you do a lot of constitutional law, election law.
Right.
What is your concern about here in Ohio adhering to the U.S. and the state constitutions?
We absolutely have to. If we start taking shortcuts or allow shortcuts to be taken, it can lead to, at a minimum, all kinds of complications, but in worst case, it can lead to ruin. Our Constitution is designed to make things slow and deliberate because today we have a nation of 350 million people who that has to serve. If you try to do things, if one person thinks they know it all and tries to do things quickly, it's not going to work, and it creates chaos. Number one, number two, it does not serve the people well. So the rule of law, it's essential that we maintain that both in the federal government and in the state government.
I try to tell people that the Constitution was the social contract that we all agreed to go by so that we didn't have chaos or kings.
Right.
And I think that's just the simplest way that I could boil it down. And suddenly we don't want to stick with our social contract with each other. And that's frightening. Now,
it is.
Go ahead.
If I can add, we're here today on Friday, October 30th, and we are at a real critical point in the history of our nation, our state today, because on Saturday, today's Thursday, October 30th, and on Saturday, November 1, our Ohio family is likely to be divided between haves and have-nots. There are 1.4 million members of our Ohio family who rely on supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits to supplement so they can feed the family regular meals here. At dinner in my family, nobody eats until everybody gets served. That's the rule. I think many families are like that. Mm-hmm. But what we are about to do on Saturday is tell 1.4 million members of our Ohio family, you're not going
You
to be
don't
served
eat.
for a significant part of your meals, but the rest of us are going to go on eating as normal. And that is just not right. It just as a matter of fundamental basic human dignity and fairness.
Yeah, it's dramatically, I'm in southern Ohio,
Right.
and we're really going to get hammered because we have 1 in 3 families that rely on SNAP and on the Affordable Care Act / Medicaid.
Right.
And I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to lose a lot of rural hospitals. But that brings me to ask, as an Attorney General, some states have already filed a suit for SNAP. Ohio is not one of those. So what can an Ohio Attorney General do to help ensure that we have food and medical coverage?
Yeah, well, at a minimum, the Ohio Attorney General can work with the General Assembly to figure out a way to do this. You know, like anything, there are always reasons not to do something. I could probably tell you 5 reasons why we can't do this, but a good lawyer will help you figure out, within the fundamental structure of our constitutional laws, will help you figure out a way to get something done. Here, and it's imperative that we get something done here, because 1.4 million people are going to go hungry here in 2 days from now. So, you know, and as Attorney General, I'd be there. I'd make sure that everybody who was on the team and equipped to help with a situation like this could be working with the General Assembly right now to say, look, here are 3 options. Here are 3, 4, 5 options. Here are ways we can do it. You know, and the fact is, like it or not, whether you like the SNAP program or Affordable Care Act or not, it is what we have now. It is the law of the land. So we need to implement and enforce the law of the land.
What made you decide to run?
I love being a lawyer. I love what I can do as a lawyer for people. I love what I've been able to do over 45 years as a lawyer. You know, every day for 45 years, you go to the office. You work with your clients. You figure out what's in their best interest. You give them your best independent judgment about what you should do. Then you do it. You pursue it zealously. And so I wrapped up at my law firm at the end of December by virtue of our partnership agreement. The year in which you turn 70, you withdraw from the partnership. I went and talked the next week with our state Democratic chair and told her that I wanted to explore running for Attorney General next year. And I'll tell you just a little story about why that office in particular appeals to me as a lawyer, because the first 2 people who I ever met who had served as Attorney General of their state, they're 2 dramatically different individuals, but they both had the same conclusion about the Attorney General's office. The first was the late John W. Bricker. He was a 5-term governor and a 2-term senator from Ohio. He was the Republican vice presidential nominee in 1944. I did a research paper on his presidential campaign when I was in college, and I interviewed him several times. And I asked him, what was your favorite job? Because he had served on the PUCO, then Attorney General, then Governor, then Senator. And he said, Attorney General. And I was kind of surprised, and I said, why? Because he had served at the loftiest levels of the state and federal government. And he said, because every day, all that I had to do was go to the office and do what I thought was the right thing. And the next
What a wonderful conversation.
Well, it was, but then it was echoed a couple years later when I met a young Bill Clinton. He was in his first term as governor of Arkansas. I was in Little Rock one weekend, went to see him, and I asked him, how do you like being governor? And he said, well, John, I like it fine, but I really like being Attorney General better. He'd been Attorney General before he became governor, and I said, why? And he said almost the same thing that John Bricker said, because every day I just got in the car, went to the office, and did what I thought was the right thing. And that's what I love about being a lawyer. You got an obligation to exercise your independent judgment for the best interest of your client, and then to pursue it zealously. So, so that's why pursuing the office of Attorney General in particular. But what I did after I talked with our state chair, then Liz Walters, back in January, I went out and I went to all 88 counties in Ohio.
Yes, you did.
I talked to or tried to talk with the Democratic county chair in each county and some local officials. But I swim every day, so I swim in all 88 counties. And what that did, and it's physically invigorating to do that, of course. But the other thing that it did, it exposed me to a wonderful cross section of Ohioans, because if you think of it, when you go to the pool or the beach, the water knows no race, creed, color, wealth, education, anything. Everybody's, all kinds of people come and swim. So I'd go and swim and then talk to people afterwards in a pretty relaxed atmosphere, kind of like this. And had the most wonderful conversations all over the state. And there was nothing really profound, but it was just, how you doing? Tell me, how long have you been here? Where's your family? Where are you from? What kind of work do you do? What's going on with your life? But you learn. But I learned the things that are really important to people, and they're the basic fundamental necessities. People are worried about keeping their health care. People are worried about about keeping their pensions. People who are worried about getting scammed by scam artists. People who are worried about not getting paid what their employer promises them. It's all things like that. It's very down to earth and basic stuff, but all those are things that the Attorney General can do something about. The Attorney General has authority to protect you against consumer fraud, to protect you against wage theft. If an employer does not pay you what they promised to pay you, I'll go after them. Protect against Medicaid fraud, which is taking our dwindling Medicaid dollars and misusing them to protect against that. Protect against nursing home fraud. Antitrust violations that are raising the prices of our food and beverages and the basic needs of life. So that's a real long answer to your question, but that's why.
No, that's really good, because it leads into what issues are going on in Ohio right now that really are alarming you.
Yeah, well, I think several. There's one big issue that nobody's talking about very much, but it's going to have dramatic consequences. By the governor's own numbers and the Department of Development, our population in Ohio is projected to decline by 700,000 people between now and 2050. And while the rest of the nation is growing at 17.5%. But what that means, though, that has huge consequences for us, because what it means is the people who are going to be leaving are most likely going to be the young people who need jobs somewhere to support themselves and their family, that they're going to have to go elsewhere, which is fine, but that leaves grandma and grandpa or mom and dad at home. And grandma and grandpa or mom and dad are going to become increasingly vulnerable to scam artists, to people who are taking advantage of them, to nursing home abuse, to elder abuse like that. And they need somebody to stand for them. The son or daughter in their family, they can't be there because they've got to be elsewhere. But so somebody has to be there for them. That's going to be a huge issue in Ohio. We need an Attorney General that's going to make that a fundamental priority to protect people just in those aspects of their lives. I'm concerned about I'm very concerned about what continues to go on up in Lake Erie. That's one of our major natural resources in Ohio. It's a gift to us from God. We are stewards of the earth, including the lakes and the rivers, and we need to clean that up. It's a man-made problem, why it is the way that it is, and it's something that we can solve. I'm concerned about maintaining the safety of our communities. We all have the right to be free of violent crime, of all kinds of crime, but especially violent crime. So as Attorney General, I would make sure that, number one, that we're keeping the bad guys in jail. But number two, one of the things that I've been on Upper Arlington City Council here in Columbus in the Columbus area for 6 years now. And one of the things I've seen clearly is the best way to fight crime is to prevent crime. And you do that by making sure you have an adequate supply of law enforcement officials out there on the streets who are properly trained, properly certified, and out on the job. So it's things like that as Attorney General would be my top priorities.
What would your position be, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it's so in the national news on these ICE agents coming in. Out in Chicago, law enforcement is now at odds with ICE agents who are violating people's rights, and God bless them, our trained law enforcement officers are out there now being a buffer between federal ICE agents whom we don't know who they are, we don't know what their training is. How could you see Ohio being a buffer for what the federal ICE is doing to local communities, or is there anything? Because it's a new problem.
Well, it's yes and no. I mean, federal-state relations have been a problem since the adoption of our Constitution. We learn to live together. The ICE agents are there to enforce the federal law, which is their job. The local law enforcement are there to enforce the law of the state. They have to coexist. We need to be. Nobody should be in the country if they're not allowed to be or aren't supposed to be. But in figuring out who that is and who should or should not be here, we do. One of the things that we should all take pride in as Americans is our system of due process. We don't just go out and
disappear people.
Or just cut through things and try to get things done without following due process. So we need to be mindful of that. But
That's my biggest concern. I don't have a problem with I have a problem without due process, because now they're scooping up people who are American citizens just because they look differently, and we've had laws against that for years.
Right. Yeah. Well, the risk of error is huge, and it not only causes great damage to individual families if they're wrong, but it also causes a lot of damage to our system of justice. To our
It does, and the trust.
To our ability to have faith in it.
Now I want to talk about your swimming. I found that fascinating because to me that tells me a lot about your characters. You jump into dark waters, deep waters, rough waters, and yet you fearlessly go through that. So that tells me you would do the same for us in the state. So what got you into swimming, and tell us some of the places you swum? I found it fascinating.
It's become a central focus of my life. It started about 24 years ago in 2001. In the summer here in Upper Arlington, we have an early bird swim in our pools. They call it. They open at 6:30 to do lap swimming. And I woke up one morning. I was feeling I was feeling wiped out. It was the day after the 4th of July, which is a huge day all across the nation, but here in Upper Arlington especially. So I'd heard about this early bird swim, and I went to it, and I was so out of shape at that point that I had to stop after every lap to catch my breath, and it took a while, but I made it my goal to do 10 laps without stopping by the end of the summer, which I did, and I liked that. But then I started to meet other people who swim, and I just gravitate to that kind of person. That's who I hang out with mostly, when I'm not working or doing things. But one thing led to another, and I found out about open water swimming. And I read a story about it. There's a swim across the Columbia River every Labor Day out at Hood River, Oregon. You get out of
and that's
across
cold.
Washington.
I've been in the Columbia River. It's cold.
It's cold, and at the time, it's 1 mile across, which for me at the time was a huge challenge. And but I way overtrained for it, and it was very successful when I did it. I wanted to do more, and then. A friend told me about a swim in Turkey across the Hellespont, it's called. It's about a 5K swim, which I did. I was very frightened to sign up for it, but I did it and it worked. And then one thing led to another after that. And I swam across the Strait of Gibraltar from the tip of Spain to the tip of Morocco.
For y'all that don't know, that is really rough water most of the time.
Well, there's a good current that comes in from the Atlantic, so you have to kind of swim lateral to that. But it was one of those days, by grace of God, everything went absolutely right, and it was just such a wonderful experience. Just to digress for 1 second, but a reporter asked me a couple weeks ago how I was feeling about having declared my candidacy for AG, because we all know what the election returns have been in the past couple of cycles. It's a tough environment for a Democrat, and I thought for a minute. I told her I feel exactly the way that I felt the day that I signed up to swim the Strait of Gibraltar. It was beyond my reach at that time, and I had to just day after day after day work and train for it, and trust in God and find the ways to get it done. But if you do that, if you put in the work, and if you like that, I like having that kind of a challenge in my life every day, where it's something beyond me that you're kind of working to, but it felt exactly that way when I signed up for it. But you do it though. You just day after day you train, you figure out what you need to do to get it done, and you go after it. And I did just 2 other swims I'll mention to you, because they've all been wonderful experiences. I've been captain of 3 English Channel relay teams. You get 6 people, and you swim in a rotation across the English Channel, and that was really wonderful. The first was for the 70th anniversary of D-Day. I had British, Canadian, and American swimmers on the boat, and it gives me goosebumps even now to think about it, because at the end, when we all got out, and the captain, the pilot let us swim to shore together. But the minute I stood up in the water there, it had this huge would have been like a flashback about what it would have been like on D-Day there. You know, you
To
get
hit that, be in full gear.
You've got an 80-pound backpack on. You're sick to your stomach from seasickness. You got bullets whizzing around. You got body parts. You got mayhem. You got smoke. You got noise. You know, confusion, and you're terrified the whole time. You know, it's just I can feel it right now, just how that felt, and you know, so it was very. We all went there with a great deal of respect for the troops who landed on D-Day, but even more
amazing.
so that. One other one was when I was a little boy. John F. Kennedy was elected president. In addition to the fact that he was Catholic, as I am, one of the things that I knew about him at the time was that he had swum 3 miles when his boat, PT-109, went down in the Solomon Islands. And that always just impressed me about him. So on the 75th anniversary of the sinking of PT-109, the 6 of us, there were 5 other guys with me, and we went over there and we retraced the route in the water of President Kennedy and his survivors, and swum the route that they had swum. But you know, the most, 5 of us had fathers or uncles who had been in the service station, either in the Solomon Islands or nearby there. And, but, you know, you can understand, we each can understand our fathers and our uncles much better. And you go to what today is called Kennedy Island. It's where they initially landed after the boat went down. And it's a small island. It's not much bigger than the coffee shop where we are today. But you can still feel the presence of those men there on that island, because I mean they're just like us.
And they survived.
And they survived. And the second in command was a graduate of Ohio State.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Leonard J. Tom. And I got to talk to his son on the way, and to the sons of one of the other crew members, and but it was just a wonderful experience in giving and showing us what they went through.
My husband's dad was a ball turret gunner in World War II.
No kidding. Wow.
His father was Native American, so when you were Native American back in World War II, you could be a scout, or you could be a code talker, or you could be in a ball turret. Those were your 3 choices. So he thought, well, I'll fly, and he survived 12 missions.
Did he really? Yeah.
And so they said, we're going to reward you. They sent him from Europe to the Pacific, and this time they put him in the same ball turret, but only with a camera. But he did both theaters, his dad did.
I just, when we were there, one day we were walking on Guadalcanal, up Bloody Ridge, it's called, and boy, you could sense, I mean, most of the people, the men who were over there, they were 18, 19 years old, they were just out of high school. My father, they had, my father, I think he'd been out of the state of Ohio one time in his life before that, and all of a sudden here you are, 1 or 2 years after high school graduation. My dad was from Martins Ferry, small community in eastern Ohio. 1 or 2 years from high school graduation, you're there in this environment, literally halfway around the world, and it's a hostile environment. You never know, I mean, you're at risk of being shot and killed at any moment like that, and you get a sense of what they contributed to the nation by being there, and what a difference that made in their lives. And I'm sure for all of them, that experience had to really focus them on what they
all
wanted
veterans
to do with their lives.
He was 17 when he went to Vietnam.
Wow. I bet you grew up quickly.
Right off a farm in Scioto County to Vietnam.
Is that right? That's unimaginable. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a story, of millions of Americans who have sacrificed and put themselves in the line of.
Well, I think it's the resilience of humanity. Just like you're swimming, what people say, I can't do that. It's amazing what you can do when you're in the correct situation. Right. And what you never tested yourself to do. And
if you just make up your mind to do it. One story I wanted to tell you about swimming. So, when I was swimming in all 88 counties this year, and in Jackson County, my friend and I, we swam in the Jackson City pool there, which it's before people get in it, it's a 50-meter pool, and so it was wonderful. But when we got out and we were drying off and changing, I was talking to the lifeguard there. He's a young man from Oak Hill named Max Gentry. He's a sophomore now at Ohio State, and is the most remarkable young man. But he's somebody who does that, who won't take no or won't take impediments or obstacles for an answer. He just made up his mind what he was going to do, and he's done it. He won 2 successive full scholarships to Ohio State. He's here now studying civil engineering. Before he got to Ohio State, he had started 2 businesses. already. One of which was a 501c3, a charitable corporation, which he and his buddies they can buy shoes, sneakers. They know how to buy them pretty economically online. Then they work with the teachers in the schools in Jackson County and Pike County. If the teacher spots somebody who needs new shoes, they'll give them a form. They can fill it out and say, here's my shoe size, what color I like, what brand, and they'll get them the shoes. And this is a guy. I mean, he's just a high school, a college sophomore right now.
Well, he sees the need.
So somebody like him. When I meet people like him, there was a woman up in Paulding County. Same deal. I met, but you meet people like them who see, yes, we can do things. Sometimes we are the biggest obstacles to our own success if we tell ourselves that we can't do something. But he refused to take that approach. He said, I can do it. And he was right. We can do it. And so just to go back to why we're here today, just as Attorney General, if there's any obstacle I can clear out of people's paths so they can do what they want to do.
I think that, first of all, I will be so grateful if you can stop these damn scam calls.
No.
They are insidious.
They are.
And I got a call one day from my own phone number. No kidding. They'd spoofed my own phone number, and I'm thinking, oh my God, there's no stopping them.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a way that they cannot keep doing that.
Yeah.
We've done some commando tactics to try to stop them, but it's like the more you try to stop them from calling, the worse it is. My problem is how many older people do fall prey to them.
Right.
We're fortunate our sheriff constantly is trying to put out notices. These are the calls coming out. Please don't, notify us just so we can log them. But so many people don't have that, especially in larger communities.
Right.
Where they can do that.
It's a race between law enforcement and the scam artists.
We had one woman from Oak Hill, that's kind of what triggered me reminding that the sheriff, thank goodness, got her. She was at the bank to withdraw $9,000 because her grandson, who was not in jail, was in jail.
Yeah, no, that's unforgivable when people do something
like that.
It is. They're taking advantage of some of the most vulnerable people.
And people who are kind.
Right.
A lot of times these people are doing it just because they're kind.
Right.
And they take advantage. So, God, I would be thankful for you to do something like that. Now, tell me about your family.
I'm very, very, very blessed. My wife and I met back in the 1980s. She was working on John Glenn's presidential campaign, and I was the Ohio campaign manager for Gary Hart when he was running for president. And we met in the course of that. And one thing led to another. She was born in Paris, and they came over when she was a young girl. Her mom ended up coming over with 3 kids, 3 suitcases, and $25.
Wow.
They moved from the heart of Paris to Middletown, Ohio.
That was a culture shock.
Well, it was, but her mom is one of the most admirable people I've ever met. I mean, can you imagine? This was in the late 1950s, early 1960s. Coming over like that, just literally on her. She had 2 brothers who were in the area there who were able to help out a little bit, but still, it was up to her to raise 3 kids, and start all over again like that. So, very admirable, and our children have picked up that work ethic as well. We have a son who's a lawyer in New York. He's about to be married in December, and our daughter went away to school as well, and she came back during the pandemic, and she's working at the Ohio General Assembly now.
That is amazing.
No.
Good youngins.
Well, they are.
Any grand youngins yet?
We're very fortunate. Not yet. No.
Oh, you just wait. That's the fun part.
That's what I hear.
Ruin them and send them home.
I'm told that formula works every time. Yeah.
Well, I am so glad that you stepped up and that you're running. Now, do you know who you're going to be running against on the Republican side?
The likely Republican nominee is Auditor of State Keith Faber from Mercer County. He's had a long legislative career and 2 terms as Auditor of State. And the basic, what I want to do as a candidate, we're going to choose a new Attorney General next year because the incumbent Attorney General is term limited.
Yes.
So we're going to choose a new Attorney General. What I want to do is give people a choice between more of the same, because Auditor Faber, he's been an architect of the status quo.
Yeah.
He was in the General Assembly and as Auditor of State. And if you like what we have today, and after 35 years of one-party rule, We're 45th in the nation in our growth rate. Our median income is 88% of the national median income. You just call it, we're falling behind on every metric, but if you want more of the same, then there's a candidate for you. If you want somebody who's going to take a fresh new approach, a vigorous new approach to help us all get through this, that's the choice I want to offer to people.
And that's what I try to tell people when they come on my porch for coffee. For us, down in Southern Ohio, we have a monolithic government. Every county office is Republican. Our state representatives are Republican. Yeah. Our congressmen are Republican. Everyone in the state house is Republican. So I don't know what your complaint is about Democrats. Because if we don't have a healthy two-party system, right, just as you said, we're crashing. In every state that is like Ohio, I read some statistics that we are racing to the bottom on corruption, that there's a fine line between Ohio, Texas, and Florida as who is the most corrupt.
Right.
And we can't
it makes
sustain
my blood
that.
boil. It makes my blood boil because when people are doing that, they're taking away money, resources, and time and attention to the things that really matter to people in Ohio. That can help us get out of this. There's no reason in the world that we should be the 45th in the nation in our growth rate. We are
Not
blessed
Ohio.
We are blessed with, number one, a phenomenal workforce and families in Ohio, abundant natural resources, great agricultural areas, and there's no reason that it should be like that. So, when people spend all the time doing these corrupt deals like that, it's taking away from the common good.
I guess I don't, okay, I have to bring it up, but this gerrymandering fight that we're in now, we tried to get it on the ballot again, even though it had already been constitutionally changed. They're not following it, and we won't discuss that mess with the Secretary of State. But how do you make the what's the recourse? Because the attitude that we feel is, I'm not going to do it, what are you going to do about it?
Here's the most foolproof answer. We win statewide offices. If we will elect a Democratic governor, a Democratic Secretary of State, and/or a Democratic auditor, two of them, they will be on the apportionment board. The three of them will be on the apportionment board. We can change the lines that way. We can restore.
So what we have could be workable if they would work it.
Well, to make it more competitive. Here's the thing that what I've seen in Ohio. The worst thing about gerrymandering is it corrodes the whole system. It becomes so uncompetitive that people, public officials don't work as hard at keeping in touch with voters. They work hard at their jobs, but they're not as working as hard at keeping out with the community because it's not competitive anymore. You don't have to, and the really unfortunate impact of that is that people stop voting. People stop caring because they think, well, why does it matter? So we've got to do something to stop that.
Well, I'm trying to impress upon people, if you buy into it's gerrymandered, so they're going to win anyway, they don't work for you anymore. They're working for the guy financing them.
Yeah.
And we're in a situation where we never see our elected officials. Right. The two that go to the state house, the one that goes to Congress, they know they don't have to campaign. They
Right.
never run with someone against them, and they don't come and ask for your vote.
Right.
But I also like to remind people that they tried to gerrymander the heck out of Ted Strickland his first. Mm-hmm. And every district they gerrymandered him into, he won.
Right.
He wasn't supposed to. And then he won governor. Yeah. So you don't have to vote the way they think you'll
Right.
vote in those gerrymandered districts.
And Governor Strickland is a unique individual because he never, ever, ever lost touch with people.
No.
He was out there every day, every week, every month of the year.
And he still is.
Going out there, just keeping in touch with people. And part of that, he was in a very competitive district, which I'm sure was part of the motivation, but it should be for all officials. But he's a classic example of what we want public officials to do, to be out there with the people. So we serve the community. But what I found in running, I've run twice for Upper Arlington City Council. I was elected both times. I was the leading vote getter both times. And what I did in my campaigns, I knocked on almost every door on every street. As my buddy Brad Bradford here is with us knows. what that does to you, though, hopefully you're making a good impression on the voters, but it really changes the candidate, because you become completely committed to the people who you're serving when you get the momentary glimpses into their lives, see what's important to them, and it's wonderful. And you can't do something like that and not become completely committed to making it possible for them to pursue their dreams for themselves and their families. So.
And I appreciate you've hit every county, because as you found out, I honestly don't think some of the people up in the State House understand the sad conditions a lot of our fellow Ohioans are living in. Yeah. We're talking about food insecurity, and one of the things that I have done on my platform is I did a thing on eating poor, so people understand how to eat poor. And if you take food to a blessing box, my husband's adamant, it's top cans, it's things that children can get that don't require electricity to heat them up.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
Because if you have food that they have to cook, a lot of these kids are living in households right now and they're not having electricity. And if mom and dad have got to make a decision between getting a little something to eat and paying the electric bill that's skyrocketing,
right.
How do you make that choice? And I am so tired of the narrative that these are lazy people. Right. Most of the people I know getting assistance are working.
Right.
They're working jobs, and you can't get anywhere, and they have children.
Right. Well, I'm trying to figure out what to do here, because we have this situation coming up on Saturday. And if that's what actually happens, we're telling 1.4 million of our family members in Ohio, I'm sorry, you can't eat with the rest of us here. My wife and I, we've been talking. We certainly want to make a donation to a food bank or a food collective. But then, the other thing that occurs to me, and I appreciate your guidance, or anybody who's listening to this. We've been talking about taking ourselves down to one meal a day until the situation is resolved, because it's just not fair that we're all, in essence, we're all sitting at this 11-20 million people table, and 1.4 million people are being told, I'm sorry, we're not going to serve you for this meal. And that's just not right. It's just not fair.
And I want people to understand, it's not just SNAP benefits that are affected with what they've done to the USDA, WIC. So our Women, Infant, and Children program is going by the wayside. So it's just something as basic as milk, which is also going to affect our farmers. Right. So it's just a never-ending snowball. And do you think cruelty is the point? You're a historian. Siege warfare. What's the first thing you did to get people to comply? You took them away from their food sources. You took, to me, safety and security is your health care. So you took that away, and then you convinced them the only protection you get is if you come into the warlord's castle.
Wow. Maybe. What those people are doing that, though, what they're not counting on, though, is the resilience of people. I mean, I've seen, one other swimming vignette. I remember in Fayette County at Washington Courthouse, going into the YMCA there to swim early one morning, and you see moms coming in at 6:30 in the morning, bringing their toddlers with them, so the toddlers can get to daycare, so the moms can get to work. And that just made such. I don't know the names of the moms. I didn't talk to them, but to see that, I mean, if the mom is there at 6:30 with the kids, that means that mom was probably up at 4:30, getting herself ready, getting the house ready, getting the kids ready, getting everybody in the car, getting to daycare so she can get to work. And they're not counting on the resilience of people like her. She'll find a way. It's not going to be easy, and we need to do everything we can to help her. But in the end, cruelty will not win out. Not in America.
I don't think so either. I have too much faith in humanity.
Well, they need to remember, united we stand, divided we fall. And people are exploiting our differences for political purposes to divide us from each other so they can get more votes. That's
it's just not sustainable.
Well, it's not sustainable, and it's wrong, and it's far from the ideals we live by in America. We're one family.
We help family. The gentleman had become disabled, and Calvin went out there. It was 100 degrees temperature, and built a deck with a ramp for him. We knew they were extremists and very driven into the culture during COVID of Uber MAGA, I guess you put it. Got it all done and all that, and he was thanking us, nice gentleman. And then Calvin says, Now, I just want you to remember, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I'm the one who built your dam.
Yeah.
So I think it's little acts of kindness to each other
It is.
that gets through no matter, or people will say something, well, I don't mean you, and well, yeah, you do when you say that.
I'll tell you something else that's going on out there, and it's not detected, but we have 8 million registered voters in Ohio, and right now the number of unaffiliated voters is 6.7 million. So people, and this is true everywhere in the state, people are looking beyond political parties right now. They're looking for actual candidates. What are you all about? What are you going to do for our state, for our nation, like that? And it's because I think people see parties going in different directions, and they're looking more for
They
individual
have, and in
candidates.
all fairness, I really resented being considered flyover country, and
Right.
and because I have an accent that I'm not as intelligent, and that's kind of why I started this. People can be from this area and speak like I do with an accent. There's still some brain matter up here in this gray head, so it has shocked people.
Well, I'm sure people underestimate you at their own peril.
At very much their own peril.
Yeah.
John, it was wonderful to talk to you, and I thank you so kindly, and I intend to have you on my porch some more before the election of the fall of 26.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for talking today, and I look forward to coming back.
You will be. Thank you, John.
Thank you.